stop exposing your Azure storage accounts to the entire internet. I just audited a company last week that had their SQL databases accessible from any IP address on the planet, and they had no idea. Today I'm showing you the 5-minute fix that locks this down completely.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Network Ninja Cloudcast. I'm Alex, and I'm here with our resident cloud security expert.
Great to be back. Today we're tackling Azure Virtual Network Service Endpoints. And trust me, this is one of those features that once you understand it, you'll wonder why you ever deployed PaaS services without it.
Okay, so I've been working with Azure Storage and Azure SQL Database, and I know they're PaaS services. But what's the actual problem we're solving here? Why do I need service endpoints?
Here's the thing. When you create an Azure storage account or an Azure SQL database, by default, they have a public endpoint. That means traffic from your virtual network goes out to the internet, then comes back into Azure to reach that storage account. Your data is literally leaving your Azure environment and coming back in.
Wait, so even though both my VM and my storage account are in Azure, the traffic goes over the public internet?
Exactly right. And that creates two problems. First, security. Your storage account is exposed to the internet, which means you're relying entirely on authentication to protect it. Second, performance. You're adding unnecessary network hops. Service endpoints solve both of these problems by creating a direct, private path from your VNet to the PO's service.
Can you give me an analogy to help visualize this?
Think of it like an office building. Without service endpoints, if you want to access the secure file room on the 10th floor, you have to leave the building, walk around the block, come back in through the public lobby, show your ID, and take the elevator up. With service endpoints, you get a private internal staircase that goes directly from your floor to the file room. You never leave the building, and only people on your floor can use that staircase.
That makes sense. So the data stays inside Azure's network backbone instead of going out to the internet.
Exactly. And here's the technical reality that validates that analogy. When you enable a service endpoint, Azure adds a route to your subnet's route table. For Azure Storage, it adds routes for all the storage public IP prefixes, but the next hop becomes the Azure backbone network instead of the internet. Your traffic never touches the public internet.
How do I actually set this up? What are the steps?
There are two parts. First, you enable the service endpoint on your subnet. In the Azure portal, go to your virtual network, select subnets, pick your subnet, and under Service Endpoints, add Microsoft.storage or Microsoft.sql, depending on what you need. Second, and this is the part people forget, you have to configure the PaaS service to accept traffic only from that VNet.
What do you mean configure the PaaS service?
For Azure Storage, you go to the storage account, then networking, then firewalls and virtual networks. You change from enabled from all networks to enabled from selected virtual networks. Then you add your VNet and subnet. For Azure SQL, it's similar. You go to the SQL server, then networking, and add a virtual network rule pointing to your subnet.
So the service endpoint is like building the private staircase, but I also need to lock the public door?
Perfect way to put it. The service endpoint creates the private path, but the firewall rules on the PaaS service determine who can use it. Without both pieces, you haven't actually secured anything.
What are the common mistakes people make with this?
The biggest mistake is enabling service endpoints but forgetting to update the firewall rules on the PS service. I see this constantly. People enable Microsoft.storage on their subnet, pat themselves on the back, but the storage account is still set to allow all networks. You've built the private staircase, but the public door is still wide open.
What's the second mistake?
Not understanding the scope. Service endpoints apply to the entire Azure service in that region. When you enable Microsoft.storage, you're creating a route for all Azure storage accounts, not just yours. The security comes from the firewall rules on your specific storage account, not from the service endpoint itself.
Oh, that's an important distinction. So the endpoint is about routing, and the firewall is about access control.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. If you need more granular control, where traffic only goes to your specific storage account, look at private endpoints instead. That's a different feature that creates a private IP address in your VNA for that specific resource. Service endpoints are simpler and free. Private endpoints give you more control but cost money.
Let me make sure I've got this. Service endpoints create a private route from my subnet to Azure PaaS services over the Azure backbone. I need to enable them on the subnet and configure firewall rules on the PaaS service. And they're different from private endpoints, which give me a dedicated private IP.
That's exactly right. And one more thing to remember. Service endpoints are free. There's no additional cost. You're literally getting better security and better performance at no extra charge. There's no reason not to use them.
This is really helpful. I'm going to go check my storage accounts right now.
That's the spirit. Go to your storage accounts, check the networking tab, And if it says enabled from all networks, you've got work to do.
That's it for today's episode. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
And if you're managing Azure resources, share this with your team. Security is everyone's responsibility.
Thanks for watching the Network Ninja Cloudcast.
See you in the next one.